Like we're live. So I'd like to welcome everyone. This is our 11th weekly meeting here now. And just, I guess, a little refresher on the format. We do the public portion here. We give a schedule update, let you know what's been completed, and give you a preview of what's coming. A little update on the traffic movements, and then Meyer gives a little bit more specifics to the schedule, and then we close the public portion, answer any questions, and then close the public portion. So I guess with that, I'll turn it over to Meyer, and then can kind of give an update after that. So Ryan, if you would, schedule, please.
You bet. Thanks, Craig. Right now we're targeting very weather dependent, very work dependent, but we're targeting getting all the concrete paving done and curb and gutter and sidewalk done on the south side by the end of this week, and then flipping traffic to the north side potentially on Monday. If that all works out, then we would of course tear right in and start removals right away and start our utility replacements on up for the next 2 weeks. Working from Old West Main back down towards Broad would be the plan there, and all the associated work that goes along with it. That really is the bottom line. I think we've been pretty fortunate. We've had a pretty good push here the last couple of weeks to get to this point, and we've been able to hold this schedule so far, so we're hopeful it'll stick. But I guess it is very weather dependent and dependent on how much work the guys can actually get out there.
So I just add a few things to that. Work in Old West Main started today. There's a scheduled water main shutdown to install a new gate valve there on the project limits. Likewise, the rest of the water main work there within the right-of-way by Midway Auto. There's mainly just storm and water main work within Old West Main, so that work will continue to progress until those utilities are done. And the hope is that utility crew then just start right in on the north side of the roadway. And just a reminder on Old West Main Street, we expedited the work within Old West Main to accommodate some of the business there, keep construction progressing, but that intersection will remain closed for a good while here yet, probably at least the end of July, beginning of August. That intersection will remain closed. Just by the time we're able to get all the work within northbound 61 there at the intersection. That's all concrete pavement, so there's cure times. And then there's just also some logistics with the new traffic signal and how that gets installed. So I just want to put that reminder out there. We've got detour signing up. We're constantly modifying it to I guess be most as effective as possible. But just want to make sure everyone's understanding that there is a duration to that closure. Likewise, some traffic updates. The intent is to switch from Fulton to Franklin. To allow the construction of Fulton. That switch is hopeful to happen tomorrow. And so then Franklin would become the full service intersection, and Fulton would be closed then. And that would allow like I said, the permanent construction on Fulton. And that will remain that way until we shift over to the north side, until work starts on the north side. And I believe that the intent then is once traffic's on the south side, we would switch back to Fulton. Fulton's a little bit more desirable to be open when the traffic's on the south side. So there'll be a couple switches here, but the most immediate one will be, like I said, closing Fulton, opening Franklin. That happened this week, and it'd hold that way through the holiday weekend until we make the big traffic switch. Likewise, Broad Street, the intent is to have that reopened by the holiday weekend. The intent is hopefully tomorrow we reactivate that signal, depending on the coordination with the traffic control. But before the holiday weekend, we do want Broad Street back open. That would be a live signal again. All movements would be available. And then hopeful as well we can restore that pedestrian crossing. So we'll just have to see the rains delayed that a little bit. And so the intent there, though, is by the holiday weekend, ideally both pedestrian and traffic movements will be restored at Broad Street. And then I thought I had one other piece there to update, but I think and then commenting on the big traffic shift. We're trying to give people the best heads up that we can. I've been discussing with the businesses, access and things. We understand it's a big endeavor to shift from from work on the south to now work on the north. So we're working with all the businesses. We're trying to be upfront and honest on a date, but again, it's a tentative date. It's probably some idealisms in there, and hopeful that things will progress to meet that. But we will release a press release. In my weekly updates, I'll try to give as accurate of the date as I can, but just work with us. We're going to give you as much warning as we can, but it'll obviously be very obvious once that time comes, but we'll try to give you a heads up on that, but certainly wouldn't be until next week. So I think with that, did you have anything, Ron, any concerns, anything that I'm not thinking of or that you'd like addressed? Or
I was just wondering, with the rains we had, especially on Sunday, was there any problems with any of the businesses down there? Because I saw that one photo down by National Tire where the vehicle driving through there was up to the bumpers.
Yep.
Was there any repercussion from that? Because I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, it is actually just a convenient timing. I met with National Tire and Battery on Monday morning. I wasn't aware of the picture until after I met with them, so I maybe could have inquired to the condition that they observed, but they did not have any knowledge of water damage. They didn't voice any concerns from it. It looked a little bit scary from the picture, I will admit, but they didn't mention anything. So hopeful that it actually didn't enter the building at all. I don't believe it did, and I think the main reason for that pond, and just so people are aware, we have inlet protection out there, which protects the storm catch basins from construction runoff. But one of the negatives of that is it obviously slows down the drainage. In order to collect the sediment and keep the dirt from getting directly into the drainage way. So that negative is during a high frequency rain like we experienced Sunday. Obviously, it's not going to drain away as fast as it normally would, which then does cause ponding. And I think there's some pictures circulating of that. And so, kind of one of those unavoidable things. We certainly don't want to be flooding anybody, but it's just a side effect in a heavy rain like that. So. Hopefully, I think we survived this one fine, but just so people are aware, it's just a negative of the construction sometimes when you get high intensity rain.
Then the other thing was just, I'm sure you're watching it, but when they re-pour that intersection, is it Fulton that has to be poured?
Fulton has to be constructed, yep.
Yeah. We will do the beam breaks before we put traffic on that on Monday or Tuesday, whichever day we can get traffic.
Yep, that certainly would be a caveat. That falls for all the concrete work. There's some mainline paving that has to be completed yet. That'd be even on Friday, and so that will certainly have to be a condition that the road surface is able to bear traffic before we make the switch. So
is it that mainline paving down at the west end, whole West Main part of it? That's not going to happen until Friday.
I think not sure on the exact schedule that it still has to be completed.
Okay.
The rain has impacted that both yesterdays and Sundays, so it's been delayed twice now, the paving of that, but it's understood that obviously is going to be carrying traffic when we switch to the south side. So whatever day that's paved, that'll be the strength will be contingent on when we're able to make that shift, and that applies to main line, to Fulton, to all that, because the intent is to have all that concrete work done before we make a shift. To traffic on the south side, that all those side streets are finished. Work is finished, concrete sidewalks are tied in, and we want to leave it in a good condition because it'll be challenging to get back to it.
Blacktop paving on those side streets, is that going to happen too before the shift, or is that something?
I think the desire would be, yes, at least the base lift. I think we can confirm that. Certainly the primary ones, obviously Fulton, Franklin, some of the side streets, there maybe is a little bit of flexibility on there to pave it in halves or something like that with some flagging. But certainly the desirability would to have those paved, yes. But there obviously is some coordination in getting that work done too. So, but certainly the main ones. So.
Will all intersections be open then on the south side?
The intent is yes, yep. So right in, right out for all those south side intersections when we make the switch, yep. And then the northbound side, northbound will be structured very similar to southbound. We'll try to keep as many right-ins, right-outs as we're able, but as the work progresses, we'll start to close some of the more, minor ones, Pine Street and Hill Street. Those will get hard closed likely once we start to work through them, and then until we get the pavement back in. but either Fulton or Franklin will always be open on the northbound side, and that's where all the business traffic will be routed. To always be left turn pockets on one of those two so that southbounders can get to the northbound side. So it's going to be exactly the same setup as what the south side's been, just working west-east now this time. So, but on the south side where the work is intended to be done there, so you have right in, right out to all those side streets on the south side. There won't be left turns everywhere, of course. They'll have to be at those controlled intersections, but for southbounders, you'll be able to get to the south side relatively easily. So.
And by access,
So yeah, if you're inquiring about your driveways and stuff, yep, it'd be the same thing. Yep, just like the northbound side is. A lot of those driveways have been remained open, and so the southbound will be the same. Just want to remind though, it's going to be right in. So southbound traffic will be very accessible, but the northbound we want to control the left turns, so they're not holding up the through traffic to find a gap. So that's why we've had those temporary signals. So for northbound, you'll have to probably do some looping back, just like they've had to. The southbounders have had to for this phase. So, but any other questions, I guess, relating to the Main Street project? Otherwise, we have Jeff from MnDOT. He can give us. Yep, go ahead.
I'm the Broad and Main Street.
Yep.
And I've had a lot of conversations with Jay about that cut line at the top of the median on Broad Street there.
Yep.
If we can get a gravel turnaround pad there, I think we can keep most of that parking open up there. We will lose those handicap parking places though, and there's going to be a lot of mad people about that. So in trying to manage this thing, I'm trying to get the closest dates to when that's going to be, we're going to have those disruptions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get the closest dates I can so we can inform our customers and keep things as normal as we can there.
Right.
So I'm formally fussing when we can get some dates. I know that's a deal on the project, et cetera, but I'm not going to nail you for giving me a wrong date, but I got to have something to work with at this point, so we can talk to all those customers.
No, I'm definitely aware of your concerns there, and we can work with you. I mean, rough dates, I mean, we're looking, probably, it's tough to say, but, end of July, beginning of August, probably being in Broad Street. I mean, we have a challenge of predicting a date next week, so things are they're moving so fast. There's a lot of things to piece together, and I can promise you we're aware of it, and we'll work with you. But I'd say right now, depending on the traffic shift, when that happens exactly, I mean, August 21st is our completion date to get the roadway back open. I mean, that's what we're shooting really hard for, and so you can kind of, Broad Street's going to be towards the end, so it's going to be, probably a couple weeks ahead of that. Hopefully that we're in there, and so I'd say right now to give you that time frame, you're looking at the 1st of August, first week or two of August.
I think, Corey, I'd probably accelerate that a little bit.
Even sooner than that, okay.
Probably, I mean, it might be as early as the 21st of August, but it's going to be very weather dependent and work driven.
21st of July.
July,
sorry, yeah.
Well, pattern of how you work on the other side, the tar pavement all the way down on the whole patch. So I'm assuming that you're going to do it that same method coming east.
Yeah, we will.
So I'm just trying to get as good a picture of this as I can.
Yeah. We need to, Jay and I need to look at that a little bit more closely, the challenges that turnaround there offers and how we can accommodate that. And we're getting closer now all the time. I'll be honest, there's bigger fires at this time. Not to say that yours isn't significant, but we're aware of it and we'll work with you. And
I think we figured out how to divert about half of our daily traffic.
Okay.
And do it differently so they don't ever come up there. So we're doing our part too, trying to figure out another way to do it. But as good a faith as you can on those time estimates would really be helpful.
Sure.
And we got a community with all kinds of people.
Yep, understood. And to further this, once we make that shift, that'll be a huge stepping in the right direction, because then we're able to then kind of build a schedule just on the northbound side. And so we'll continue to update you and give you as much lead time as we can.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions or concerns anyone might have regarding the Main Street project? All right, Jeff, if you won't mind, just a little update on your project.
All right, thanks, Corey. Rain is having some impact on the schedule, not so much here in town, but bringing the new crews that are coming in. They're getting held up on other projects. As you saw today, the milling operation began on the north side of town here. So they started actually at the north side of the downtown here and are working their way north, which is kind of opposite of what we talked about last week, but they just kind of changed their mind on how they wanted to handle it. So they got rolling. They just got past Bench Street when I got in here. From a traffic perspective, as you also noticed, we have one lane all the way through town now. That's going to help us kind of keep that machine moving. I think the plan right now is to get up about the Burnside area, and then when they get to that point, they're going to flip on the other side and come back south again. There's still a little bit of concrete work being done up on that Burnside area islands. They plan to finish that tomorrow, and then after that, then they're going to get out of here, and then this milling and paving operation takes over fully. So having these lanes closed are going to allow these machines just to keep moving and not have to stop and get to the end of a day. They get up to that Burnside area, 4 or 5 o'clock later today, then they can just go to the other side and keep moving as opposed to shutting down while we close the other lane for the next day. So it tries to make this as efficient as absolutely possible. A second mill will be coming in, I'm thinking tomorrow or maybe the next day. It's currently on another one of my projects, but as soon as that gets in here, they'll be able to do some other things, so they'll have those 2 milling crews working at the same time. Paving operation was to begin tomorrow, but that has again been held up a little bit on a different project, so due to the rain. So they're probably looking at moving in. That crew will move in Wednesday is the plan right now, and they want to start off down at the south end of town here at Wakota, where that work has been taking place, get that final lift of pavement on there so we can get that signal, that temporary signal moved out and have that gone for the weekend. So that's where they'll start, and when they get that done, then they'll come up into town here and start paving in the closed lanes. MnDOT requires that by noon of the day before a holiday, all traffic impacting operations have to shut down, so they can't work past noon on Thursday of this week, the holiday being Friday. So it's going to be a little bit of a short week, unfortunately, when they're getting started with this. But so afternoon on Thursday, pretty much all these trucking operations are shut down. Anything that's going on within traffic control can maintain itself, but they can't run trucks. So that'll hinder the paving operations. Again, some of the other things, if you're looking around, the rain has impacted around here. We got a lot of areas that need to be reseeded or sodded, and that's obviously it's just too wet from all the rain we've had, so that's kind of being delayed. They're kind of hoping to get back in here. Seems like we got a little bit of a dry spell coming right now, so hopefully they get that taken care of before we get any more rains. Moving back to the south side of town here, again, they plan to have the Wakota area finished up here before the holiday. And then they've been doing some work at the next area. We're building another left turn is near Sevastopol Road. They've been doing some work there. You may have seen some of that preliminary work, closing off some of those other intermittent accesses, stripping all the topsoil where we can do the widening. And then the plan is on Monday, after the holiday, they'll be putting up the detour for northbound traffic onto Flower Valley Road and beginning their work in earnest at Sevastopol. So it's very helpful for them. I appreciate the fact that they try not to start that right before the holidays. So I think scheduling-wise, it's kind of working out nice anyway. But so that'll start right away Monday morning after the holiday. Northbound traffic onto Flower Valley Road. Southbound will stay within 61, and it'll be flip-flopped around the culvert construction that has to go in there. So they have a maximum of 18 working days to work on that closure there, although they feel that they're going to get done well ahead of that. So. And then, so then after that, it's really milling and overlaying. Starting on the north side of town here, it's about 3 weeks worth of work total on the north side here to get that done. Mostly working 6 days a week. And then when they get done with that, they'll move to the south side and they'll work their way down essentially from about the Wisconsin River Bridge south down to the Semstone plant for that project. So still hoping to get done with, well ahead of our October 16th schedule, but yes. Don't really know. It's Flower Valley Road up to Highway 58 and then right into downtown here. So I guess I never ran it, to be honest with you. I don't think it's too many more miles. 5 or 6 more miles, maybe. I'm just guessing. I've only driven it once or twice. Didn't look at my odometer. So, and it's unfortunate. There's people who live in that neighborhood that are going to have to. I got a call from an individual who works at the casino, and they're going to have to go south to get on the Flower Valley Road and circle all the way around for a couple weeks. It's unfortunate, but it's the best opportunity we have, again, to get this thing done as quickly as possible. We had to try to find a way to keep both traffic in 61 and get that culvert replaced. It would take a lot longer. We'd probably have to do a lot of temporary grading to make it work, so which was evaluated during the design. But try to keep it as quickly as possible. That's why they're doing as much work as they can up front, so that whole work at Sevastopol doesn't take place under that detour. They're trying to get whatever they can done before that even gets put into place. So they're doing the best they can to shorten that up. Detours don't do anybody any good. MnDOT or the contractor, we get too many phone calls. So they'll do the best they can to keep that as short as possible. So, any questions?
And I just wanted to add one thing after Jeff gave his update, is that they are looking at, on the 61 Main Street project, to potentially be doing work on Friday. And so I just wanted to reiterate that stipulation is that there's no traffic impacts. That's the language there. And so no traffic shiftings or anything like that, but it'd be, work within the barrier under already the closed conditions, likely some concrete work, but, limited truck traffic. And so to keep the schedule progressing and to keep things on track, the contractor requested that, and as long as they're within the closed area, which they propose to be. So just don't be surprised if you see work going on Friday on the Main Street project inside the barriers. That's the situation. So
one other quick thing too, as I was coming down here for this meeting, where the milling machine is right at bench, and I saw a few people trying to make turns to go across where they were working. And I've made the comment, and we will always have access as much as possible at all times to all side roads and anybody's driveway. Obviously, when we're working right there, it's got to be closed for a period of time. And I made the comment, well, only when there's not a machine right in front of the intersection you can get through. But obviously, this milling machine or the paving, there's trucks in front of them, so there's kind of a long train of operation that goes through there. So we just ask for patience. We know it's painful. And it did not take long for that to get through there. They had to make a couple. They had to get back up and mill off the turn lane as well. So, but there's several trucks going to be in front of these machines at all times. So that little period of time when we're going to close it off is going to be longer than it might be you'd like, but it's going to be short. Hopefully within a half hour they'll be through it and moving on. And they're grabbing some of those millings and making little ramps there off the cuts so that the vehicles can get through it once they pass through. So we just asked for as much patience as we can muster. We know it's painful. Law enforcement will be involved at some of the more complicated intersections. They didn't have them there when they got through Bench, but I think when they come down southbound on Bench that they plan to have them there as well. So I think most of the major signalized intersections, law enforcement will be there to help direct traffic. So thank you.
all right, thank you, Jeff. All right, are you good, Ron?
Yep.
With everything? All right. Any other questions or anything? Otherwise, thanks for coming.